Guys, welcome back. One of these days I'm gonna hit record early and you're gonna really hear it. Um, well that's my good luck charm on this channel, don't you know? Had a dream this morning! Yay, dreams. And it was one of those dreams where I'm halfway asleep, halfway awake, and I'm like sleeping like this. And I'm like, you know you're kind of awake and you know you're kind of asleep, but the bed's nice and comfy. And I have a dream where Ogu, and you know I have Balendjo, he comes and he like puts his arms around me from behind me and he's like holding me close to him. And first I'm like, "Aw," and then I'm like, "Oh crap, what do I have to learn now?" And he's holding me and I'm like looking at us from above us, you know, like I'm floating above my body and looking down at us. And first he looks like, you know, he would be pictured. He looks like a spirit from the African diaspora, and you know he has his naval uniform on. And then I swear to the gods, he's Chinese. And then he's white. And I'm like, what? And I don't know. This put me in a very bad mood. And I got up and I'm at him. And he's just looking at me. And, you know, I usually would not recommend talking sass or getting an attitude with Ogu, but it was like, it just really upset me. And I was mad with him and I was having words with him. And he being Ogu, he was having words back at me. And he was trying to teach me something. And I'm like, I don't know what you want to teach me, but you go away. I've had enough of you. And yeah, like his brothers have been looking at me like, yeah, like you're really lucky he was in a good mood today. And I go on and I turn the YouTubes on. And I have the YouTubes on, and I know I'm saying a cute way. And there's this woman about, why aren't you happy? And she's one of those women that's found eternal bliss. So I already hate her. Like, what reality don't you live in? And why aren't you happy? And I'm at the screen, and I'm like yelling responses at the screen. And Ogo's just standing there, and he's kind of watching me, and he's like, he's drinking his coffee, because we're all having coffee, and he's like, yeah, this isn't for you. Being really calm and happy and funny, inner happiness, this isn't for you. You're going to go nuts if you try to do this. I'm fighting with her. You know, as far as you can fight with a video. Then, a little while later, watch another video. And she's talking about something, and this made a lot more sense to me, what this speaker was talking about dealing with worry. And how worry is usually what we let mess up our lives. And something like only, is it like 40% of what we worry about is total nonsense? And it's like only 8% is something we might actually have to worry about. But worry's not productive and da-da-da. And I'm going through my day and I'm still in a bad mood. I mean, lots of it, a lot of days I'm in a bad mood. And I come across this thing on Pinterest from, I don't think it was Santeria. I think it was, I don't know. My Spanish is really bad, so I won't even try. But I don't think it was Santeria. It was like one of the other ranches. And there was this tarot deck for Voodoo, and I clicked on it, and it took me to this Kickstarter campaign. And this artist was doing these decks because they wanted to show that a lot of tarot decks had been done by people that weren't practitioners, and they thought they were very hurtful. But they thought they were very hurtful because they made stereotypes that you can't live up to as a voodoo saint. And they didn't show the truth. They didn't show how culturally diverse now that voodoo is. And, you know, in like on this deck, it was beautiful. Like the spirits were like all colors, all races, and you know, and I know some people get really head up about that, but they were saying, you know, this is the reality of voodoo today, and we really hurt ourselves if we practice in a way that everyone who isn't X doesn't really belong, and they're just either play acting or the spirits call them because the spirits want whatever. And it was really interesting because you know, there are voodoo houses all over the world. France, America, Canada, whatever. There, you know, you'll find people that practice Voodoo, Santeria, words I can't pronounce in Spanish. And you'll find they practice that, and I'm laughing because of my total lack of English, let alone anything else. And it's interesting because in there's something called Gnostic Voodoo, and you know, I was practicing that for a while because that was more, it's more kind of mystical. It's more kind of, a lot of people would call it flaky, but it's really more make your own way, do your own thing. It's the only openly gay friendly path I saw, which was why I was practicing it, because it was a lot heavier towards gay friendly, and I was straight and like a lot of the stuff was in tune, and it does have like a lot of the spirits that normally, you know, what you're going to find online, you're not going to find talked about until like this deck confirmed, yeah, these spirits exist. And just because they don't put them in Voodoo 101 doesn't mean that they're, you know, they're not out there. And it was just really interesting because how many times do we get into a practice and even like, let's say, having part German background, and I work with the I work with Loki, and I work with the Germanic pantheon, and well, some people that won't be good enough because I don't speak proto whatever. And I'm like, really, does this now become a contest of who is the most elitist wins, and we can only practice if we're of the blood, or we speak some language that only like two people that pretend they speak it now speak on the planet. It's like try to speak Aramaic. Nobody actually knows what it sounds like. We can guess, but we don't actually know because the language died out. And you'll see people on YouTube do videos in some language, and some troll will be screaming it didn't sound like it. You know it's a troll because there's like only like two people on the planet left that speak this language. And we can let fear of elitism, or we can let fear of exclusion, or we can let fear of what will other people think keep us away from the practices that make us, you know, happy and healthy. A lot of people will say, well, because of the past, X can't do Z, or, you know, because of like what stuff is like today, X can't do Z. And, you know, that's foolishness, because as Lokeans, we know there are Lokeans, you know, all over the planet, and Loki doesn't give 2 cents what color your skin is. He doesn't care what religion you are. He doesn't care, you know, how much money you have, or who you love, or anything else. And it was just interesting, and I think Ogu wanted me to find that deck, and he, you know, he wanted me to think about it because, at least if you live in the U.S., now everything's like a hair trigger issue. Like if you go to open your mouth, you started a war on the internet, and how dare you? And it's not healthy for anyone, because it's more divisive than it was when we used to get along. Back in the 80s, when I was a little girl, if you would have had a party and like had a party to celebrate somebody's culture, it would have been a wonderful thing, and it would have been a way to expose us, you know, little kids, to that culture. Now if you did it, you would be, you know, cultural appropriation, and it's getting silly. It's getting to the point where it's like, it's gone from, okay, maybe nobody thought, to people are way too much. You can't let the hateful people on either side of the divide ruin things. Like when we were having the parties, there would be people that didn't want these cultures taught about, didn't like them. Now it's like people that are offended, and it's usually not people of that culture are offended. People have parties. And I think if you're doing it from a place of love and respect, you know, you be you. You be you, especially like when it comes to working with our gods and goddesses, whether you're working with Loki or you're working with anyone else. You be you, because we have a very short time on this planet. I mean, from the time you're old enough to make your own, decisions to your expiration date, you don't you don't get actually that much time. And it's way too short an amount of time to be worried about, what were these hateful people on the internet think? Or what will the neighbors think? Or what will my family think? Or whatever. Like I told you when I started practicing paganism, and like especially when I was practicing voodoo, my ancestors just will not show up for me because to them as Catholics it's very offensive. And a lot of them I don't want to show up because they were horrible people. So I kind of have like spirits that are kind of act in the role of ancestor, and I have to because there are no ancestors. I have one of those ancestor altars where I have animals and I have people admire from outside of my family that have passed on, but I can't have family members. So, you have to make things work for you. It's not this, cookie cutter world where you grew up and maybe like your family was really good. Maybe you grew up like me with a lousy family and you don't want these people coming back into your life after they died, wanting you to help them or something. I had family member come back into my life and keep like wanting me to do stuff for them, intercede for them because they were a really horrible, terrible person. I mean, like, we won't go into the criminal activity they didn't get caught for. And they wanted me to like kind of grease the wheels because I was practicing voodoo. And I'm like, no, you go suffer and you go pay for what you did because you were a terrible person and you were never caught. And so, we have to make our own way, and we have to do what's right for us. Finally had to get Baron involved on that one. And Ogu's in the background like, who was this? And, Ogu knows who it was, but, he's still in the background like, not happy about it. But, yeah, I just figured I'd talk about that. And yeah, if you start working Santeria or Voodoo or anything, they show up when they feel like showing up. They don't always show up on the day that, you were assigned or you were taught or something. Because the traditions move from house to house to house. Like one house will be like, his day's Monday. Another house will be like, no, it's Tuesday. Another house will be like, no, it's Wednesday. So you kind of have to work with them when they show up. So I hope that helped. I don't usually talk about it on this channel because it's a really sensitive, hypersensitive subject, but I'm like, you should live your reality. And I think I found that video because it's right, you can't be afraid of, oh, if I put this up it'll ruin the channel, or if I write this article it'll ruin my reputation or whatever, as long as you're not spreading hate and intolerance. So if you guys like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you later. Bye bye.